Hello, welcome back to The Unknown. My name is Saira, and today I'm here having a conversation with Farhad Pocha. He facilitates transformation and helps people come back to their bodies and reconnect with the outside world through bodywork, through psychedelic integration, and through coaching. So, welcome, Farhad. Thank you so much for saying yes to my invitation today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me for this conversation.
Yay. Since I met you, which is not very long ago, I rented your space and I was just fascinated by everything I saw here. It told me a bit about your personality, and I remember thinking I need to interview this person because he seems like a very interesting one. So I'm hoping to get to know you a bit better today and to share all your wonderful gifts with our audience.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Beautiful. So, Farhad, first of all, I'm curious, how did you land in this mission of helping people come back to their bodies?
I took quite a meandering path to it. I grew up, I guess, in India till I was 14, and then moved to Canada as a teenager, which was already a very jarring shift. At that time, we didn't have anyone to coach us through it or guide us through it. So it was for me, it was basically taking myself through that. And my parents were also going through a divorce at the time. So it was a rough landing in Canada. Um, and then after 10 years around in Canada, after I finished university, I got an internship in Switzerland. So I did another move and that brought me into another space of transition. So I've been going through a lot of transitions in my life. After that, I moved a couple more times before I made it finally to Berlin, where I am now. Um, and in that transition, I also went through different careers. So for me, it's been quite a long journey of finding myself, of rediscovering myself, of reinventing myself in many ways. And I think the red thread running through it all is just a curiosity and a desire to really experience a lot of the world, a lot of different places. A lot of people will just be in one place, and that's great. That brings you a depth that I don't know how I can imagine because I haven't had that. But I also love that I have such a breadth of experience that I've been able to, live in 5 or 6 different cities. I've had numerous adventures outside of that. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I already have so many curiosities and questions for you around this. I would love to start with that first experience of moving from India to Canada. Um, you mentioned that you had to hold yourself through all of that. Can you tell me a bit about how that process went?
As a teenager, first of all, it was quite a big shift moving from India to Canada. I already had friendships then. I had some crushes. I had a life, as you would call it. And Canada was interesting because at that age, you really want to fit in. You really want to make friends. You want to, do everything that gets you going. And so a lot of what I did at that time was kind of adapt to the environment. I lost my accent really quickly. I changed the way I dressed. A lot of these things that you do to to fit into a new culture, a new place. And then it was an interesting transition as well, coming from India, a country where you have family and friends and everyone around you, and it's loud. There's always something. There's always someone around. To Canada, where it was just me, my mom, and my brother, and we were,
Wow.
in a house together, and it was great. It was sweet to have my own bedroom after sharing it with my brother for a few years, and there was a lot of bonuses, but then there was also a lot of shifts in that sense of making new friends, dealing with also the divorce that my parents were going
Right.
through at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And after that, you mentioned you moved to Switzerland after graduating. What did you study?
Yeah, I studied philosophy in university, and a part of that was a lot of electives in political science and
Mhm.
communication and ethics. And after 4 years of studying that, I wasn't so sure what to do with myself. We had someone coming to recruit people for an NGO in Switzerland.
Mhm.
And I applied there as a graphic designer, but my portfolio wasn't that strong at the time.
Mhm.
And then they offered me a role of being the assistant to the director.
Mhm.
And so I said, yeah, that would be actually really interesting because then I get to really shadow the person and,
Totally.
get to know all the different roles.
Mhm.
And yeah, I ended up going there, initially signing on for a year
Mhm.
and then extending for another 2 years. I spent 6 months in India, kind of reconnecting a little bit with my roots, which I've also recently done. And then I did a master's
Mhm.
in climate policy and science. So I
Mhm.
went to Australia for a year and I studied
Wow.
my master's there. So yeah, that was another couple of little adventures, some formative moments, and then yeah, I graduated from Australia in 2010,
Mhm.
and it was a tough time at that time because we had just gone through the economic downturn, so
Mhm.
nobody was really hiring, especially in the area I'd studied in. So I moved to London. My brother was there, a few friends were there, and I just
Mhm.
decided to um, see what I found. And in London, I did a lot of random jobs as
Okay.
well. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
First of all, I admire your creative life design and this thirst for knowledge. And
Mm,
this is something I noticed living in your space as well because of your book collection. And I am such a bookworm,
mm,
so I was just curiously
beautiful.
seeing what you have here. And uh, yeah, I love this story, and we're not even halfway through. I'm super curious.
Hmm.
How did you get from there to Berlin? What happened in between?
Yeah, I mean, London was great. I spent 2 years there. It
Mhm.
was yeah, I was doing various roles. I was an IT support technician at one
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
I helped someone design a book and publish it. I worked at the Apple store fixing computers. Did a bunch of yeah, fun jobs there. But then at the end of the 2 years, I couldn't continue to live there. I didn't have the
Mhm.
visa for
Okay.
it. So I took a pause, went back to Canada. I met a friend who I went to university with,
Mhm.
and yeah, she just said, "Hey, we're doing a startup in Berlin. Why don't you join us there?"
Mhm.
So that was the next step. I just
Mhm.
packed my bags. I came to Berlin. It was initially like a 2-month freelance contract that was
Mhm.
turned into a year, and then for the next 8, 10 years, I worked at different startups. I worked in user experience roles.
Mhm.
So I mean, the whole kind of thread through this is me kind of working with people, understanding what people need, being able to give them, what they're after. I was quite a geek as well. I love to play around with devices. I had the
Mhm.
first iPhone, so I naturally
Mhm.
kind of gravitated towards,
Technology.
technology,
Mhm.
designing experiences,
Mhm.
and it was fun. It was really, especially in the beginning, when it was kind of like a wild open
Mhm.
space, whatever
Mhm.
you can do on the phone. Yeah.
So, for the first thing that comes to my mind is I love that you're saying that you didn't necessarily have formal training in UX, but it felt like a natural progression, which to some people would be like, how do you go from philosophy to this thing? But it's fascinating. And I like to call this creative archaeology in the work that I do with
Mm,
my branding people and my mentorship clients, because it's kind of finding those things that you've collected, those skills, those interests, those hobbies that have been in your life, maybe since you were a child or through different moments of your life. And even though they can seem unrelated, they start creating the puzzle pieces of your life and how you can share all of these parts in the way that you serve. So I'm really curious to see how that led to now working more with the body and with the mind.
So, I mean, after quite a while in this fast-paced tech world, I had a couple of burnouts actually. I had one from the startup world, and at that time, I didn't even realize I was burned out. Kind of dealt with it myself. I had the privilege of being in Germany, where you get unemployment
Mhm.
benefits, where I could take a little time off, and yeah, that really helped me shift a little bit. I shifted from the startup world a little bit to the corporate world. I took a job mostly for the practical reasons,
Mhm.
to make money, to pay
Mhm.
off any debts that I had,
Yeah.
to have an easier flow
Mhm.
in the day to day things. And I did that for a few years until I felt like I didn't align with it anymore. And during that time, I was also going through a big transition in my personal life.
Mhm.
So when I first moved to Berlin, I got into the party scene. I would go to Berghain every other weekend, and you know, um, end up at an after party somewhere. And yeah, after the first 5 or 6 years, I started to have this, kind of itchy thing saying, "Hey, this is not, sustainable. You can't keep." And there's more to life than just going out all the time,
Mhm.
getting intoxicated, and the friend I was living with at the time, she went to an ayahuasca ceremony,
Mhm.
and I witnessed when she came back the transition
Mhm.
that she had, the transformation. I said, okay, I'm going to go with her next time. So I went there, and this kind of got me started on the path to plant medicines,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think it was about 10 years ago now. And so I kind of got on this path of, going and experimenting with these medicines.
Mhm.
Replacing the heavy, undesirable drugs and
Mhm.
alcohol and smoking and all of that. So I slowly cut all of those things out of my life, and
Mhm.
ayahuasca helped me quite a bit with it. I also, at one point, did quite a bit of therapy, did a lot of coaching. So yeah, a lot of this started to bring me into connection with myself. And usually, when people are taking substances, when they're doing things, it's usually to escape
Mhm.
from the intensity of life, or to escape from whatever is present,
Mhm.
to escape from being present. And so for me, this whole path has been kind of a journey into falling in love again with being present, being,
Mhm.
you know, just experiencing the world like it
Mhm.
is. And so yeah, I can definitely credit the plant medicines and psychedelics with helping me shift and see a lot of the patterns. But then I also think it's very important to not just leave it there, because you
Mhm.
can take those medicines, and but then they leave you with, okay, what do I do with this
Mhm.
new knowledge I have now? So actually, it was also the transformation that I went through with therapists, with coaches,
Mhm.
and especially with body work. I remember at one point I had a lot of tension in my body. I had
Mhm.
tension in my lower back. I had a cramped shoulder, and I went to a friend recommended this body worker to me, and she's now my teacher. And in the first session, she already just spoke to me, and we had a little coaching slash bodywork session, and that's kind of how it works. You start with speaking to the
Mhm.
client, and she spoke to me, and she asked me a lot about my circumstances, my
Mhm.
life, where I'm at, and then she said, "Oh, okay, so you're working a job you don't really like.
Mhm.
You're in a living situation that's not really great at the
Mhm.
moment. All of these things, and of course, if you're in that, you're gonna cramp up
Tense.
and tense up." And it was the first time it really made sense to me, because I'd been to a bunch of doctors, and I'd been like having all of this tension. I thought it may be something physical, and they would just give me painkillers, and they would just say,
Mm.
"Okay, there's nothing really wrong with you
Mhm.
physically." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So that really brought me into connection with my body
Mm-hmm.
and connection with my my feelings. She was instrumental in opening me up and allowing me to see a lot of the things that were in the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
How long has it been since you discovered the medicine of the body and coming back to the five
Mm.
senses?
Yeah, I think I would say about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 9 or 10 years.
That's
So
amazing.
it's been quite a and you know, it's not been a fast journey. In
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, it was just a few little insights, and
Mm-hmm.
then I would go back to my old habits.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting things is, you know, when I would go to this body worker, sometimes I would also go and take psychedelics. Just go to a lake and take something, or and I remember in those moments having a little like, oh, what she said to me or what moved in my body, I can shift. And so I remember this really key moment actually. I was at a lake and I was coming back to Berlin on a train and it was
Mm-hmm.
crowded. It was a Sunday evening, I think. And I felt all this tension coming in my lower back. And then I was like, oh no, if this is just because I'm feeling overwhelmed and
Mm-hmm.
disconnected. And so I was just did this little movement in my lower
Mm-hmm.
back while I was there, and it just let the pain go away. And so I learned in that moment while having the psychedelic experience how to let go of tension and not keep it and hold it, which is what
Mm-hmm.
we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have a moment of tension, your body's natural reaction is to hold on to it and to
Mm-hmm.
say, "Oh, I'm gonna make sure I don't get worse."
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the opposite is better when you can relax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that you're bringing that up. And although I'm not very versed in this topic and I'm fascinated by it, I have noticed in my own life that moments that are tense emotionally, for example, we resist going into the pain so much because
Mm,
you can already feel that the pain is there, but we're so scared to really allow the pain to consume us and break us down and get worse. But I've found that in those moments, it's only when I allow it to fully be felt that I can actually let it go. And by resisting it, it just takes so much longer.
mm.
And I can imagine that the body really holds on to that and then starts developing maybe some chronic stuff and problems if you don't release it.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of what we call the unconscious mind is actually the body, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually, you know, um, just us holding on to things, and a lot of the tension, especially when people have chronic tension and pain and stuff like that. I mean, there can be, of course, physical ailments that
Mm-hmm.
lead to that, but it's a lot of the times it's very much related to what is happening in their lives, how
Mm-hmm.
they are, how they meet the world. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how do you meet the world? Do you meet it scared and afraid, and then are you always going to have your shoulders like this, or are you going
Mm-hmm.
to loosen up and meet it with openness? And so that was a
Mm-hmm.
part of my journey, opening up, allowing myself to breathe, really learning how to allow myself to be on my feet, not
Mm-hmm.
holding onto the ground. So there was
Mm-hmm.
this nervousness, this tension that would be held in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of releasing that is really getting to know what is going on in your emotional space. What are the things you are not confronting?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not confronting it, you're going to feel it. You're going to hold on to it in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how you just said this. Like, how are you meeting the world? And when I'm in your space, what I feel is a groundedness and ease. Like
Mm,
you really have this aura that's very grounded,
mm,
very centered, which I think is so important for a facilitator. Because then, as you're teaching these things, you help people get in that state of ease with themselves as well. And that's super beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
mhm.
So, so what now? So you were telling me all of this thread, all of this journey, And now, what are you focusing on with everything that you learned?
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years was also quite a journey for me.
Mhm,
So I'd already kind of decided that the last job I had was going to be the last thing I did in the tech world.
mhm,
I'd communicated that with my boss at the time.
mhm,
I'd said, "Oh, I'd be happy to do this for the next couple of years,
mhm,
and then move on." And I'd already started a course, so I was studying bodywork with Barbara, my
mhm,
teacher, and I was doing the job part time, so I was
mhm,
accepting clients on the side, and I was starting to get into this area. And on the side, I was also doing a bunch of other passion projects. I manage a wellness team at Garbage Festival.
mhm,
I manage the awareness team at Hidden A Festival. So I have a few fun things like that. And all of those things brought me into learning how to transfer all of these skills I have in the corporate, in
mhm,
the startup world into, working with people,
mhm,
facilitating. So it's really been quite a transition to take all of these skills and say, oh, I actually have the skills. I just need to apply them in a different way. I'm facilitating now more spaces of emotion rather than spaces of thought. And so there's been this journey. And then actually, I think it was pretty much 2 years ago, I had a little injury.
okay.
I was hit by a car while I was riding my bike in
Oh,
Berlin,
no.
and it literally knocked me off my path. So I was, in a hospital for a week. I was in recovery for a few months. I had a head injury, and that also I was very lucky,
Mhm,
but it also shifted in many ways my brain, my
mhm,
function, where I am less in the analytical space now.
mhm,
I'm not able to hold that much in my working memory as I
mhm,
used to, but I have a much higher emotional capacity.
mhm,
I have a capacity to feel and sense
mhm,
that has been enhanced.
mhm,
And so I see it as a really sweet gift. Of course, it was a rough transition. It was really going from one path to the
mhm,
next one, and it really pushed me into this transition. And I'm
mhm,
glad I was already on the path. If it had happened without me being in the bodywork training and being able to do all these things, I wouldn't have had such an easeful transition over the last few years, really studying different modalities, reflexology, craniosacral therapy. So all of these things I'm starting to bring into a combined offering, I would say.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love to hear this. I've worked with many coaches myself and healers throughout the years, and I find that oftentimes they're very focused on the mind. And myself, I also learned some coaching tools that are very focused on the mind. And not a lot of people are focused on bringing it back to the body and to the nervous system and to integrating, which is where the real difference is, especially when we talk about things like plant medicine and
Hmm.
psychedelics. So I think it's really noble work that you're doing and really important work. And I'm excited to try it sometime as
Hmm.
well. Um, and I'm really curious, is this something that you do? You said that you take clients one on one and you do these bodywork sessions and transformational coaching that goes along with it.
Hmm.
Super, super powerful. Can you tell me a bit about the psychedelic integration piece?
Yeah, so with working with psychedelics myself for
Mhm,
quite a while, with exploring the area, with you know going into plant medicine, I think I tried almost everything at least once. With ayahuasca, for example, I've sat with it more than 20 times, having a very different experience each time.
mhm,
And what was interesting to me is that, especially with psychedelics and with plant medicines, you are given this opportunity to go into it, but it's very rare that you're prepared well enough to get into
mhm,
it. And it's also very tough at the end to get proper integration from it.
mhm.
I mean, many people also will encounter psychedelics at a festival or at a party,
Mhm.
and then they'll take it, and then they won't know what to do with the information that
Yeah.
they got afterwards.
Mhm.
And it is something that really does shift your perspective. It gives you a different view of the world. It
Mhm.
gives you new tools to look at the world with. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so what I find is that I think there's a bit of a disconnect, especially in our society, with bringing the body into these experiences.
Mhm.
Especially with psychedelics, we think about it as a journey of the mind.
Mhm.
And that is partially true. But in the end, this whole mind body distinction, this duality,
Mhm.
this separation that Descartes talked about
Mhm.
famously, I think, therefore I am, that's where it
Mhm.
started, is not essentially very true. There is no separate mind that drives the body or
Mhm.
separate body that is a physical thing itself. In fact, all of our neurons, everything is connected.
Mhm.
So, um, focusing only on one aspect, the aspect which we can speak about and put into words and get into, it's easier. It's like, oh, I can sit here and tell you about my experience, but I can't really communicate how it felt in my
Mhm.
body. That's something that you can only experience yourself.
Yeah.
And so, what I feel is that the body kind of gets left out of the conversation. When taking psychedelics, there's this whole focus on the set and the setting. The set is the mindset, and we say mindset, and we can also say, what about the body? How is your body feeling coming in? And the setting, of course, is where you are and the environment around you. But with the set, I would say you want to go into an experience with the right mindset, but you also want to go into an experience with the right feeling in your body. If you
Mhm.
go in with a lot of tension, if you go
Right.
in with a lot of intensity, that'll be enhanced by medicine you're taking. That'll get
Mhm.
you into a space, uh,
Maybe a
that,
bad trip
yeah,
or
it
yeah,
could
that
be.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And I wouldn't say bad trip. I don't think there are any such thing as a
Mhm.
bad trip. There's challenging
Mhm.
journeys, which are, the challenging ones are the ones that actually get you a lot of depth and insight.
Mhm.
Um, so I wouldn't say they're bad. They're just intense and
Yeah.
challenging. Yeah.
Wow. I think there's so much to talk about on these topics, and I could ask you so many questions about it. I can tell you from my experiences with psychedelics and being in communities where it's very normalized to do these ceremonies. I've witnessed a lot of people that were not necessarily in the right mind, body, nervous system space
Mhm.
and collapsed into a psychosis or
Mm.
had to take a break from life and go integrate in a farm and all
Mhm.
of these things. And I think it can be even dangerous to partake when you're not prepared mentally, emotionally, body
Mhm.
wise. I think again the work that you're doing is so important in bringing that awareness to preparing.
Yeah, that's important to also say is that there is a little bit of danger with psychedelics. There are certain, like with everything, there are certain indicators where you should be cautious.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a history of schizophrenia in the family,
Mm-hmm.
if you are on antidepressants or
Mm-hmm.
in a depressing
State.
state.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's not all, you know, beautiful and butterflies, that there needs to be a bit of caution.
Mm-hmm.
That said, it's, much safer in many ways than
Mm-hmm.
the legal substances that we're allowed to
Totally.
use in this society.
Yeah, that's mind blowing to me. And okay, the other thing I'm curious to ask is obviously there's only a certain amount of people that you can share this with one on one and with your hands. Is this something that you teach as well?
Yeah, so I'm starting to get into running
Mm.
workshops, and the workshops are centered around bringing people into teaching people different ways of touching, different ways of getting into connection with each other.
Mhm.
And so I've run already a couple of workshops at
Mhm.
festivals, um, where I've taken people through some of the basics
Mhm.
of the different types of touch we learn
Mhm.
in our bodywork courses. I've recently been studying craniosacral therapy, which
Mhm.
is a really interesting modality. It is really, in a way, touching slowly, softly,
Mhm.
and say you only put about 5 grams of pressure on the
Mhm.
place, and there's different locations in the body where you touch, and then you tap into the central nervous system, the
Mhm.
craniosacral fluid, the fluid that goes from the cranial to the sacrum. And this is constantly in a rhythmic flow. And when you can touch into that and slowly shift the rhythm that a person is experiencing, then it can lead to a profound states of openness, of relaxation. It allows the nervous system to rest in a
Mhm.
way that lets the body relax. So that's something I'm starting to. I'm still learning it, but I'm also starting to do it in workshops, and I'm
Mhm.
starting to show people the basic ways to connect in these ways, and it's really interesting. It's really profound. It can lead to feeling like you're in a psychedelic state.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Very cool. I Before you said that, I was imagining that this tool, because it relaxes you so much,
Hmm.
can potentially induce a psychedelic state, which is
Hmm.
so amazing
Yeah.
and maybe much safer for some people that are not necessarily prepared to have an experience with psychedelics.
Hmm.
Um, and your project, or this part of your project, is called psychedelic bodywork, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So. It's psychedelic bodywork, and it doesn't necessarily mean taking psychedelic substances. Although I have, and especially at festivals and retreats, I do work with people who
Mhm.
are on psychedelics or
Mhm.
before or after they've taken them, and get them into their body, get them
Mhm.
into a beautiful journey, and that's a really amazing feeling. I've had amazing feedback from people who have come to me and taken a small dose of medicine
Mhm.
themselves, and then I've taken them into their body, and so that they've opened up into the world in a different
Mhm.
way than they would have without the body work.
Mhm.
Um, but that said, I mostly also do sessions without any substances, and I prefer to do it sober without the
Mhm.
substances because I feel the body already has everything you need to
Mhm.
get into healing. The psychedelics can give you a shortcut. They can, get you there a little faster, but sometimes the the actual experience of getting there yourself can be much more beneficial. You're able to have more neuroplasticity.
Mhm.
Your neurons are able to reconnect,
Mhm.
reshape themselves. I would love for more people to have this opportunity to have,
Mhm.
these tools.
I think it's so important to talk more about these tools and how to experiment with them in a safe way and with safe facilitators, because there's so much out there and it's starting to get more popular, which I think is beautiful. It
Hmm.
means that more people can access these things, but having open conversations about what makes the experience and the coming back from the experience safe is equally as important.
Yeah, yeah, and it's important to have this knowledge accessible,
Mhm.
have the spaces accessible for it to make sure that people aren't. I mean, these substances are great, but they're also dangerous.
Absolutely.
They're also. It's not something you want to just do by yourself.
Right.
And I've had, many stories of friends who said, "Oh, I took that once and it was a horrible experience."
Mhm.
And I'll say, "Oh, where did you take it?" And they say, "Oh, I was in the red light district of Amsterdam."
Right.
And that's a very different
Totally.
environment, a different setting to do it than if you were in a nice environment in a garden
Mhm.
in a held space.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of messiness that can happen, and
Mhm.
so it's important to have the right structures for it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Something I think I just had an idea of something I would love for you to create,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a guide,
Yeah.
a guide of how to have an experience that's expanding
Mhm.
and consciousness expanding in a way that honors the body
Mhm.
and that is safe. Something that comes to my mind, if I were to be curious about an experience like this and I hadn't had one before, one of the things that I would like is being with someone who knows what's happening
Mhm.
and can support me through any mental loops that feel
Mhm.
uncomfortable, especially in a first experience where you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's basically the key. I've taken a lot of my friends through their first
mhm.
experience. I've also, been taken through it myself at
Mhm.
one point. And, that's where it comes back to this thing about connection. When I'm in a session with someone one on one, quite a lot about it is mostly just about holding the space for it, of
Mhm.
allowing someone to feel that you are present for them, that you're
Mhm.
able to care for them, that you're not going to judge them, that
Mhm.
there's, and so just that already brings healing. I think it
Mhm.
was Gabor Mate who said that it's less about the content, but it's
Mhm.
really about having someone there to listen
Mhm.
and to be able to hold you and guide you through whatever
Mhm.
process you're going through. The core part of the healing really comes from being witnessed, being
Mhm.
present with someone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's one more thing that I think would be supportive for our listeners,
Hmm.
especially the ones that haven't had experiences like this. Can you tell me the difference between, there's two topics actually. I would love to talk about the difference between a medicine and a drug.
Mm.
And I would love to talk about the difference between types of substances.
Right. I feel like drugs have a positive and negative connotation as well, depending on, who's using the term. I think, you can talk about pharmaceutical drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and in many ways they're helpful. In many ways they can also be detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can talk about drugs that you take for inebriation, the legal ones, the illegal ones.
Mm-hmm.
I would consider alcohol a drug. Caffeine is also a drug.
Absolutely.
Nicotine is a drug. So,
Mm-hmm.
drugs are really substances that change your physiology in a way that shifts your mental and physical processes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I like to use the term medicine more intentionally because I feel like medicine is something that brings you towards healing. Medicine doesn't necessarily have to be substance.
Mm-hmm.
Going out in the forest on a beautiful day can be medicine. It
Yes.
can be medicinal.
Mm-hmm.
It can get you into a beautiful, peaceful state, and that's
Mm-hmm.
medicine for your soul, medicine
Beautiful.
for your body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I think a lot of people, when they speak about psychedelics or when they speak about, they call them drugs. And I say, okay, yeah, it is in some ways. Yeah, it is a drug. It is a chemical that you're
Mm-hmm.
ingesting. But sugar is actually also
Mm-hmm.
a chemical that you're ingesting that
Mm-hmm.
is shifting the way you
You
are
perceive, yeah.
yeah. And all of the foods that we eat, but intentionally looking at it as a medicine kind of shifts the perspective to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I'm going to intentionally take the substance.
Mm-hmm.
There is a goal around it, and the substance does provide or can provide healing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're never going to hear someone call cocaine a medicine,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
or even alcohol a
Yeah.
medicine, because it's not generally used in the sense
Of
of
healing.
healing.
I think that's a distinction that to me is so important to make. I'm very open about my exploration of substances. I've even had conversations with my parents around them.
Mm,
I've introduced both of them to these healing ceremonies as well. And it's been really important for me to over communicate
mm,
that a lot of the distinction is with the relationship and the intention behind
yeah.
the use of these substances. Something you mentioned as well was, are you taking this to numb and to escape something?
Hmm.
Or are you taking it towards healing? So it's,
Exactly.
yeah,
And you can also take some of these medicines as you can escape
yeah,
with mushrooms, or you can
yeah.
escape with whatever other
Mm-hmm,
substances by abusing them, by getting into them too much. So
mm-hmm,
there's a distinction there as well. Um, And society has brought us into this frame of mind of thinking about all of these substances as dangerous
mm-hmm,
drugs. Psychedelics are lumped into the same place as heroin and cocaine. They're all Schedule 1 narcotic. And you see there's a massive difference between mushrooms, which are natural
mm-hmm,
substance that can bring you on a healing journey, to other heavier substances.
yeah,
And so I feel like there's a big disconnect. And yeah, I would really love to have more people speaking and bringing insight into this.
mm-hmm,
It's getting more mainstream. I know. I was reluctant at first to share, for example, with my parents,
Hmm.
that I'm working with these in these areas. But now it's getting a little bit more mainstream.
Hmm.
At some point, I hope they'll even join me and try
Hmm.
some of these and go on a journey.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. So, have you shared this part of your life with your family yet?
Not in depth,
Okay.
but I'm not hiding it from them either.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
nice. It's so relieving to be able
Hmm.
to live your life, have that freedom to explore these things, and
Hmm.
have be able to share it with your loved ones in the
Hmm.
sense of not hiding, and also creating this space of trust where they know that you're not doing it to escape, and that it's actually making you a better human
Hmm. Yeah.
when you're doing it
Yeah.
correctly, I guess.
Yeah.
Farhad, this has been an illuminating conversation. I feel like we can talk for hours, and I would love to have more conversations like this with you, and hopefully hear more of you sharing all of your wealth of experience and knowledge with the world, because it's something that we need more of. Um, if people want to learn from you, or if they want to work with you,
Hmm.
either virtually or in person, having a session, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can get in touch with me via my website.
Hmm.
I'm trying to be a little less on Instagram these
Hmm.
days, so my website is the better option.
Hmm.
And they can just contact me. I'd love to receive messages. I love to speak to people. There's always an open invitation for you to get in touch. And yeah.
Beautiful. And I know that you take some people in person as well, I guess in Berlin when you're here.
Hmm.
Are there other places where you offer in person stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I have been traveling quite a bit.
Mm.
I offer sessions in Portugal
Mhm.
sometimes, in Lisbon. I also have a few festivals I go to. They're on my website. You can check out which ones I'm going to be at
Mm.
this year. And yeah.
Amazing. Thank you again for saying yes to my
Hmm.
invitation, for sharing your experience with us. And thank you for all of our listeners for keeping an open mind and an open heart. And hopefully we get to have more of these chats more often.